Yo, what up? Welcome back to another episode of the Double Down podcast. With me, your host, Ben Bowe. We're back at it, where I come up with ridiculous sports takes, and if anybody challenges me, I double down. Tell me why I'm wrong. Most of the time you can't. So we get right to where we always start. The league, the shield, the NFL. Why? Because we support nonprofit organizations, and the NFL is the largest 501c3 in the United States. So shout out to them and all their nonprofit efforts. Biggest news coming out of the league so far. Calvin Ridley. If you don't know, Calvin Ridley is a wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. Last season, Ridley was sent away from the team to deal with personal issues. While away from the team, Calvin Ridley bet on the team. Now, they did review this. He bet $1,500 on a couple of parlays on his team for his team to win. Now, he was never in contact with any of his teammates, never talked to any of his coaches. But in light of this, Calvin Ridley has been suspended indefinitely for the next season, as far as the eye can see, for this $1,500 bet. Was it worth it when you have $1 million in contracts? Probably not, but it's probably the same reasons that caused him to be sent away from the team anyways. That being said, we're at a weird place in the NFL because you can get away with anything. We've seen players do violent acts, commit crimes with drugs, and all those. But betting on the game is where sports has always drawn the line, and we learned this from Pete Rose. You can't bet on the game. That's just the small and short of it. That being said, do I think he deserves to be suspended for a whole season for a $15 bet that he did not fix or try to influence the game in any outcome? That's pretty extreme. But if you're Calvin Ridley, you got to know better, right? Like, you're sitting at home being like, hey, I should bet on my team. Nothing popped into your mind. No red flags came and said, hey, this is going to be a terrible idea. Like, just because I did this from the privacy of my own home on a phone on the internet, the NFL won't be able to find out. Everybody knows. If you make a bet right now at Caesars Sportsbook for $100,000 or more, they know your name. If you make a bet for $1,000, they know your name. All the bets that are made are recorded in all sorts of places. So if you're Calvin Ridley, you had to have known. You had to have seen it coming. Like, that is, I get that it's silly to be suspended for a whole season, but that is silly on you to make that bet in the first place. To bet on your own team, do something better with your time, but be smarter. So I don't think you should be suspended for a full season, but you should be at least suspended for 4 games for stupidity. That's silly. If you're gonna at least bet, put some real money on it. Find a way to counteract the salary for the games you're missing, not $1,500. I know it doesn't affect the outcome of the game, but sports rules, there are very few things that you can't come back from or that sports draw a hard line on. And betting has always been one of them. Calvin Ridley. That's a silly mistake. I hope the young fella learns better. You know, you live and you learn. You get better. Apparently, he's watching too many videos of Drake putting his $100,000 bets on Instagram. He wanted to get in on the action, and it comes back to bite him. That's the difference between you and Drake, Calvin. Drake can't play ball. He can't run a 4-3. He can't catch passes in the middle. And that's why he can bet on whatever he wants. You, Calvin, be smarter. Get a better team around you. Find a guy. Maybe have somebody that puts down bets for you. Get a bookie. There's plenty of options. You had the money and clearly the time. Do better, Calvin. Well, hopefully that suspension gets rescinded. So we'll see how that plays moving into the league year starting March 16th. Big news coming out of the Pacific Northwest and into the Mountain West. We got your boy Russell Wilson landed to the Denver Broncos. It cost him 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a 5th. Heavy price to pay, but is it worth it? Abso-fucking-lutely. Russell Wilson, 10 years in the league, 10 years in the league, winning 10 games every season with subpar teams and no weapons. The guy's a magician, getting out of his pocket and making plays with his feet, and I'm excited to see what he can do with a stacked Denver team. And he's going to need to be on his best. The AFC West is now loaded with the best quarterbacks in the NFL, led by Super Bowl champion Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl champion Russell Wilson, up and coming, and the next best quarterback not named Burrow, Justin Herbert. In a division where the worst quarterback in your division is Derek Carr, that's a pretty hard division to play in. So now the problem with the team when you bring in a move like Russell Wilson, last time the Broncos brought in a quarterback, it was Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was about 38. He wore a helmet the size of a hot air balloon to protect his head from the concussions, and his arm was made of 2 noodles strung around a towel. But Super Bowls was the expectations, and it will be no less with Russell Wilson. When you come to Denver, when you go to the Mile High City, expectations rise a mile high, and everyone's too high to tell you any different. So they are going to be expecting winning, and they're going to be expecting it quickly. They have a good defense. They have some picks coming forward, and they have some weapons on the outside and a good run game. Everything is in place. The quarterback is the only weapon and piece they've needed since Peyton Manning's retirement, and now they got their man. So shout out to George Paton in the GM office, John Elway letting things happen. And the new coach, Nathaniel Hackett, now you got your quarterback. You got your picks coming up. You got your weapons. Now it's time to make it happen. And I'm excited to see what the Broncos can pull off as a team that's been known to make these kind of moves before and be successful at it. And they're going to need it because the rest of the West, AFC West, is seeing this, and they're making moves as well. The Chargers brought in Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack used to be the Mack in Los Angeles, and now it's the return of the Mack to the AFC West. And you pair that with Joey Bosa on the other side, and that is a terrorizing proposition for opposing quarterbacks. The Rams did the same thing with Aaron Donald and Von Miller, and they won a Super Bowl. The Chargers now got Khalil Mack in his prime, Joey Bosa in his prime, and that is going to make for a bloodbath in the AFC West this season. I can't wait. There's going to be quarterbacks getting split in half like the replacements. They're going to be out. They're going to need some replacements very quickly with those two coming at your head. So it's going to be a very competitive division. I'm very excited to see how that goes on. But the Broncos got their man, and look for them to go from a team with 7-8 wins and no playoff appearances to making the playoffs immediately. That is the expectations. And with a move like this comes pressure. Will they be able to rise to the challenge? I hope so. I hope they pop it like they took a Viagra and stay hard all season. It's going to be a long one, and it's going to be a tough one. I'm intrigued to see where they go from here. Moving along, a lot of trades have been going on. Not just the Khalil Mack. Amari Cooper's going to the Cleveland Browns. Amari Cooper was the number 1 in Dallas, but when your team starts losing, people got to go. That's just the way the name of the game goes, and Amari Cooper, for all intents and purposes, is an easy one. He's not CeeDee Lamb. He wasn't making plays. He was hurt a little bit off, and he produced, but not for as much as they paid him to. And in the NFL, that is a death sentence. You can produce all you want, but if your contract exceeds a certain amount, you're going to get up out of the paint, just like we found out with Bobby Wagner. Led the team, all-pro, 180 tackles, Bobby Wagner. All Ring of Honor, best linebacker in the league, 10 seasons running. And they let him go without even a phone call. That's like the equivalent of dating a girl for 5 years and breaking up with her over a text message. And they didn't even text. That's like breaking up with a girl that you dated for 5 years and she found out when you posted it on Facebook with everybody else. That's what the Seahawks did to Bobby Wagner. They treated him like he was an ex that they were trying to get rid of, like he was a booty call, and they had enough and just ghosted him. Man, it's hard to ghost like that. But that's the business side of the league. And I think everyone's now kind of to see that. I just want to point out to the average fan here, anytime you hear about a player that's holding out for more money or requests a trade and he doesn't play, I always hear fans like, oh, look at these millionaires making all this money, blah, 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 blah. But when a team ghosts a player that you've had for 10 years that played his heart out and is one of your best players, I don't hear those same fans. Show that same energy for the nonsense the team does. But alas, I digress. Best of luck to Bobby Wagner. I'm sure he'll find a very soft landing spot. He is a very talented player, and he's still producing at a high level. So with the quarterback carousel coming to an end, Aaron Rodgers is staying in Green Bay because he likes the cold and cheese. Eating Lunchables? What are we doing? Green Bay? But I've been there all his career. He's 38 years old. I think it'd be kind of a hard transition somewhere different. He's not Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the few-person quarterback that can show up to any team, and they might just win a Super Bowl because he's that good. Aaron Rodgers, well, he's proved that he needs a system around him, and he needs to be able to have some familiarity with that. So we'll see how it plays out, but he's staying in Green Bay, which leads to Deshaun Watson. Now, Deshaun Watson, for those of you who don't know, was kind of been on ice. He hasn't played in over a year. He had 22 civil complaints pending, as well as 10 criminal complaints pending that they were starting to investigate. Recently, it just came out that the Harris County prosecutor's office is not going to file any criminal complaints against Deshaun Watson. Now, for Watson, this is huge. He's not out of the woods yet, but criminal complaints comes with jail time. It comes with other factors that make it very hard for him to ever play in the NFL again. He still does have the civil cases, but most of the time those are settled out of court, or and that those depositions come in time, but they carry a lot less weight because there is no criminal levies punishment available to them. Out of all those 22 cases, the DA tried to do 9 criminal complaints, and then 1 they just stopped. So out of the 10 that they were attempted, 9 were rejected, and the prosecutors accepted the decision by the grand jury to not indict him on any criminal charges, and that is a huge win. I'm sure a large burden lifted off of Deshaun Watson's chest. He has still requested the trade, so look for that to be moving. Whereas on the street of the Carolina Panthers, which they need a quarterback, because Carolina, ever since Cam Newton, I love Ham Newton, I really do, but his career is over. 1, because his performance isn't that good. But 2, they got Sam Darnold in quarterback, which I saw a video of Colin Kaepernick, who hasn't played in the league in about 10 seasons. I was like, I'd probably have him before I put Sam Darnold back in that pocket. So look for Carolina Panthers to make some strong moves for Deshaun Watson. And we'll see where that quarterback carousel goes after that. Now, my favorite part about all this is Tom Brady's last touchdown ball was put up for auction. He threw a pass to Mike Evans to tie the score 27-27 in the playoffs. At this time, nobody knew it was going to be his last game. Mike Evans caught the touchdown, threw the ball into the stands, and some lucky guy just happened to catch it. And that lucky man is capitalizing to the tune of $518,000 for a football. He's got to be a Boston sports fan, right? He's probably sitting there like, dude, I was drinking a Dunkin' Donuts, dude. He's probably hyped right now. And you know what's even worse? What if he just went to the game? He's like, I don't even want to be here. Somebody dragged me out to here. You end up catching a football and making $518K. That's a come up if I've ever heard one. So shout out to whoever you are. Get your money, young fella. We ain't mad at you. Or old fella, or whatever kind of fella, or lady. We don't judge here. You can be whoever. Enjoy your bread. That's all I'm saying. Stack that paper. We support stacking paper here at the Double Down Podcast. Now we are moving on to the league, the NBA. It is heating up. We're about 16 games to the playoffs, and it's not looking good for the Lakers. But that boy LeBron James, I know he's got a gray beard, and he's probably using Viagra on the come up daily. But man, he's still putting up 50-point games. That's impressive. I mean, I think this comes from recently people talking about on the show, LeBron James, he has a show on Showtime called The Shop, and he was talking about how he doesn't get respect as a scorer. He said, I could score 33 points a game. However, LeBron James' best skill is his court vision, is passing, and that's what he's always been that's what people have always maligned him for, passing the ball out in certain situations and passing up shots, because they want you to be Kobe Bryant or LeBron James or Michael Jordan when you're triple, quadruple teamed and you're still shooting jumpers, and that's never been LeBron's game. But since recently, he's been sending this message, shooting 63% in one game and 72% in another, putting up 56 and 50-point games back-to-back, showing that he can still score and showing that at 37, he might prove me wrong. I was like, man, I've been writing the wall on LeBron James for like 3 seasons now. Every year I'm like, how much longer can he play? And every year he's like, I stand corrected. As a 32-year-old man, I am generally slightly a little bit embarrassed that I'm like, man, walking up these stairs were hard. And LeBron's out here putting 23-year-olds on posters, dunking like he's still 25. Impressive. Shout out to LeBron doing his thing. And I'm going to miss the guy when he's gone, because he's the villain in the NBA right now. Whether you love him or you hate him, you talk about him and you watch him play and you respect him in the game. And we're going to miss him when he's gone, because like I've said 4 years ago, how many years could he possibly have left? And who knows? 3 seasons from now, he may be still making me eat my words. But we will see, because I don't think the Lakers are going to make it to the playoffs. And if they do, it will be a very short-lived experience. Last week, Ben Simmons and the Brooklyn Nets went to play the Philadelphia 76ers in Philadelphia. And very unexpectedly, the 76ers shit the bed. I haven't seen a team in Philadelphia lose this bad since the red coach showed up. It was quite embarrassing performance. 5 for 17 shooting for Embiid, 3 for 17 for Harden, combining to get ran out of the gym. Did that stop James Harden from going to the strip club afterwards? Of course not. You know, you get win or lose, we still booze with the hoes. And shout out to James for keeping his game up, partying with rappers after taking an L. Sometimes you just got to shrug it off. But what it did show us is that when Kyrie Irving plays, the Nets are the best team in the East. I know Milwaukee's up there and they're the reigning champions and the Miami Heat won, blah, 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 blah. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. If they get a healthy Ben Simmons to play defense on Jason Tatum and James Harden, it is a wrap for the East. That I guarantee. But again, Kyrie still can't play. The New York dropped the mandates, so fans don't need to be vax. They can show up. Out-of-town players can show up in New York and play. The only person that can't play in New York is Kyrie Irving. How did they come about this? I think at this point now, they just want to make Kyrie an example. There's no reason why he shouldn't be paying. It doesn't make any sense. Not to the city, not to themselves. But they can't backtrack now or they will look weak. And that's why Kyrie now has to go to the game. No mask, no Vask, no wax. He's just standing there bushing it all in Bushwick, New York, Brooklyn. I don't know how this works, but New York, figure it out. Makes some sense for me. Let the man play. Because I remember a couple years ago, y'all tried to tell me that Kemba Walker was just as good as Kyrie Irving. That was a lie. Kemba Walker cannot get playing time on a Knicks team that's barely going to make the playoffs because the East sucks and they're not even under 500. Kyrie Irving is one of the best, top 10 probably best players in the league, best handles in the league when he plays, bar none. So, New York, you got it wrong trying to tell me Kemba was as good as Kyrie. Get this right and let the man play, at least. But we will see. We will see what else is going on here in the league. A game I'm very excited for, Dallas Mavericks playing the Boston Celtics. Why? This got 2 of the future 4 players that I think are going to hold the league. James Harden's going 33, going for 34. Steph Curry's 33-34. Kevin Durant, 33-34. LeBron James, 37. All this old guard is kind of washing up. Who's got next? I'll give you some names. Luka, Don Luka. Luka the Don. You never mess with the family. Luka doesn't mess with the family. The man gets buckets, and he gets them easy, and he gets them unstoppably with step backs and fadeaways and bullying smaller players and out-quicking bigger players. You cannot stop that man. He has got now and next. Nikola Jokic, reigning MVP. He's got now. He's only 26. He's going to be here for a while. Ja Morant, the most exciting player to watch in the league. He's here now, and he's creeping up the ladder. And a name you don't hear often because his game is smooth. Smooth like the peanut butter I like on my PB&Js. That man gets buckets, Jason Tatum. And he is playing against Luka the Don tonight. So you're going to see cool hand Jason versus Luka the Don. I'm very excited for that matchup to see where the future of the NBA is. And those two guys are spearheading it. Jason Tatum, 50-point performances. If he did not play for the Boston Celtics, I think people would like him. I really do. But when you play in Boston, there's a quality that Boston sports has to make you unlikable. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the fans. Maybe it's the aforementioned Dunkin' Donuts kids. Boston sports fans, Boston players don't get the rep they deserve. But Jason Tatum, if somebody deserves their flowers, Jason Tatum is the one. So I'm very excited to see that matchup and see where that comes to fruition moving forward. Now, as we're getting to that time of the year, March Madness is back. I don't fill out brackets anymore because I don't like being soul-crushingly depressed, taking my brackets and taking it out on people as I throw them and want to throw myself out a window because Kent State just beat Duke in the Sweet 16 and no one saw it coming. I personally do not like choosing the March Madness. I can't handle that kind of stress on my heart. But I do want to throw some roses this week. Past week was International Women's Day, and in light of that, the NCAA tournament has expanded to 68 teams for the women's tournament for the first time. So shout out to the ladies. Get your game on, ball out, show that you can show these fellas what's up. I'm looking for big performances from, of course, a UConn women's team. They got Paige Beckers, Azzy Fudd, and a slew of other ballers out there. Look for them to come through. Now, another team, not as heralded, but they are the number 1 ranked South Carolina Gamecocks, coached by Dawn Staley. If you don't know her story, she is a hooper through and through and a NCAA championship winning coach. Shout out to her and black women coaches everywhere. Look for them to make some noise. And my favorite player that I'm excited to watch, I've talked about her before, Caitlin Clark, Iowa. I want to see her go out for 55, hitting one-footed step backs past half court, and just reminding people that girls can play too. So shout out to the ladies. You deserve some roses. It's that time of the year. Now, we're going to move on. You know, it's Major League Baseball's back. They closed the lockout down. They're still playing 162 games, and now everyone's asking why. 162? That's such a long you know a sport isn't that serious when you can play 2 games in one day? You've never seen football like, yeah, Tom Brady's going to play in the morning, he's going to play back at night. Like, no other sport can do that. But baseball's like, yeah, dude, I played earlier this morning. I'm not going to lie. I took a nap in center field. I took a dip of tobacco. I'm ready for round 2. That's baseball for you. I don't know why you need 162 games, but they came back. They figured out how to do it. So shout out to the owners and the players for realizing that no matter what the CBA is, you lose all of it if you don't play, and that's the most important thing. So shout out to baseball is coming back. Maybe we can see some 800-foot home runs. I don't know. Maybe try letting the players do steroids again. Maybe people will start watching. I want to see a guy with the head the size of 17 baseball bats hitting home runs out of the stadium. That's what I want to see. You guys had it, and you ruined it. So baseball, do better. But at least you guys are coming back and avoided another work stoppage. 99 days was the time. We made it. Now, we're moving on to a sports topic we never really talk about here in the Double Down, but we're branching out our horizons. We're jumping across the pond to throw another shrimp on the Barbie. Okay, that's England. I don't know why I said that. No one cares about Australia. We're talking about Premier League soccer. Cristiano Ronaldo, the LeBron James of Premier League. The man is 37. In a game where you're supposed to be running with a bunch of young bucks, he's still out here doing it, dropping a hat trick when Man U needed to win the most. I know he's been much maligned this season in terms of he doesn't fit into the system. He's a ball stopper. They need more possession. They need more blah, 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 blah. Everyone always needs more. They need him to do whatever. But when it comes out to making plays, Cristiano Ronaldo is that man. And with that hat trick, he became the leading goal scorer in European soccer history, and he does not look to be slowing down anytime soon. He's just like LeBron James. 3 years ago, people were like, the dude is done. The dude is washed. Put a fork in him. Give him some Viagra's. Put him out to pasture. He can't get up anymore. He can't go hard. And there he is, still doing the thing. Upper 90 with some savage strikes, clinical finishes with the header, proving why he is the best. His contemporary, meanwhile, the unheralded or too much heralded Lionel Messi playing for PSG, that's Paris Saint-Germain, if you parlez-vous Francis. In the UEFA Championship, they just suffered a crushing defeat. How are you going to be up 2-0 and then give up a hat trick to Karim Benzema in 17 minutes? If I have ever seen a team melt down in public, I watched 11 grown men all pee down the sides of their legs as they melted into puddles of weakness in the crunch time, and it was astonishing to watch. The crowd started yelling, the pressure came, and they folded. They folded like a cheap lawn chair. They folded like a cheap deck of cards. They folded like my bed sheets at a hotel. It was embarrassing to watch. This is why Lionel Messi will never be better than Cristiano Ronaldo, because Cristiano Ronaldo would have never let that happen, and Messi sat there idly by as his team blew the game again. So it just goes to show you may be good, but there's a difference between being good and being the best, and Messi, you're not it. Cristiano Ronaldo again shows us why he is. Which leads us to a little bit more of a sensitive topic. Over the weekend, famed tennis player Naomi Osaka. Now, in the middle of her match at the Indian Wells tournament, a fan yelled, "Naomi, you suck." And that left Naomi visibly upset and frustrated. She talked to the line judge, see if she could get the fan kicked out or if she could address the fan, which both requests were denied. The line said if they heard anything from the fan again, they would look into it, but the fan was ultimately allowed to stay. Now, for Osaka herself, after that, she was visibly upset. She began to cry, and she ended up losing the match in straight sets. Now, for her opponent's sake, her opponent said she didn't notice anything, didn't notice the fan yelling. There wasn't a lot of booing. But it brings to a larger conversation about what a fan's role in the sports are. Now, I do understand that you can't just because you paid for a ticket to go to a game doesn't mean you can do and say whatever you want. There are a line, and fans do cross it. And we've seen it not just in tennis, but we've seen it in other sports. Basketball, LeBron James have had some fans kicked out of games. Utah Jazz had a fan banned for life indefinitely. And there are times when that is required. I don't believe you should, if you're not going to say something to somebody in the street, any slur, any insult involving murder or killing people's families, people have said that, and that's way too much. But you suck? They didn't even boo. They just said you suck. As a stand-up comedian, I hear that once a set. That's just a Tuesday. So there's this weird line because at the end of the day, the fans are the reason you play. The fans are the reason you can get paid millions of dollars to play a child's game. And I do understand that being a fan doesn't give you a license to stay and do whatever you want. But you suck. There's got to be a dichotomy of how far we can say it and what fans can do. Because once you take that away, then everything else that comes with the game makes it harder and harder to capitalize on. Now, according to Osaka, there is a little bit of history. Back in 2001, Serena Williams and her sister Venus, as well as their father Richard, were at the game, and they were booed heavily throughout the match and called slurs to the point where they banned that they boycotted that tournament, the Williams sisters, for over 15 years. And Serena said when she went back in 2015, she was still stressed and scared to go back onto that, and it did hit her in the point. Now, compare that with what Osaka went through. That's not the same. The audience was not booing her. It wasn't racially motivated. There was no slurs being hurled. Just to Naomi, you suck. At some point, as an athlete, I think there has to be a level of thick skin that you have to draw from, and that may be the line. And that may be, if that's not something that you're able to do, then maybe you need to go talk about tennis instead of playing it. It is a weird line to see where that draw the line from, but I do think that as a fan, if you're going to pay some tickets, you can say you suck. When I was a kid, I went to a Colorado Rockies game. I was about 8 years old, and Ricky Henderson was playing for the New York Mets. We were about 11 rows up. I called Ricky Henderson old and told him he should retire for 9 innings before he finally looked up in the stands and said to give him a break. And I am 32 years old, and I still remember that moment. So for a lot of fans, meeting these athletes and these experiences are a very big deal for them. And the heckling, I feel like as long as it's not too far out of place, you suck is a line that I can accept that you should be able to say to a professional athlete. That's where I do draw that line. Because for a lot of these fans, this is the reason why you can do this. And the flip side of this is, if you're not going to be freaking out when a fan comes up and tells you how much they love you, then you shouldn't be freaking out when a fan comes up and tells you that you suck. That is the flip side. In order for somebody to love you, somebody's got to dislike you, and saying you suck is the nicest way to do that. So as long as that's where they keep it, you got to be able to do at least a little something to have some fun. It's an interesting dichotomy. We're going to keep tabs on this and see where it goes. Tell me what you think. Am I out of place? I'll tell you why I'm not and why you're wrong. And this leads me to the last moment of here. Recently, over the weekend, Patrick Mahomes was married to now his wife, Brittany Mahomes. Now, a lot of people recognize Brittany from her social media and some of the things that she's done. Fans are not a big fan of hers, throwing beer and showering losing fans with her champagne after her team won. Just being generally obnoxious with Patrick Mahomes' brother. If you go to the post on Instagram that shows them getting married, please don't read the comments. I pray don't read the comments. I pray that Brittany and Patrick don't read the comments. I don't read comments a lot, but I got to tell you, these comments were brutal. Absolutely brutal. Now, how will it affect Patrick's plays moving forward? We don't know. But we do want to tie it. If Patrick is on his way to being one of the best quarterbacks of all time, another quarterback went through a similar situation, not with the heckling, but with getting married, and then shortly thereafter, Tom Brady divorced his first wife, Bridget Moynihan, after their first child, and it was much aligned, and then she roasted him after he lost in the Super Bowl. So there are a lot of consequences that come with this. But choose wisely, Patrick. Tom Brady learned the hard way, and I hope you don't have to, and I wish you nothing but love, success, and congratulations. But if it doesn't work out that way, everyone on the Instagram comments will be there to tell you we told you so. With that, I've been Ben Basunga. This has been The Double Down. Check us out at The Lonely Mans Productions on YouTube and Patreon's /Lonely Mans. We love you. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.